So I guess a couple things primarily. One is it is immense movement from the commissioner who just this past December, after Cap's workout went awry, Roger Goodell said publicly, we've moved on from Colin Kaepernick. So December saying we moved on to now in June saying he encourages a team to sign him. It's immense movement, and I'm glad Commissioner Goodell has moved on that front. And I can also answer Commissioner Goodell's, almost question within his quote, if Colin wants to resume his career. I can tell you unequivocally, without any question, from firsthand conversations, Colin Kaepernick desperately wants to resume his career, that he feels he never should have had to pause while he was fighting for not only social equality, but very specifically trying to shine a light on police brutality against minority communities. So I'm encouraged by this, but it's my job here to give you my honest opinion. My honest opinion is Colin Kaepernick's never going to play in the NFL again. I think there are three primary reasons he'll never play in the league again, and we'll start with the first one, which is I think people misunderstand the level of support this cause has nationally. We aren't good at math in this country. Nate Silver, a great mathematician, said Hillary Clinton had a 70% chance to win the election, which means she had a 30% chance to lose it. When she lost it, everyone's like, oh, Nate Silver doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But 30% outcomes happen all the time. But we can't conceptualize that. So when you hear 60% of white Americans currently support the Black Lives Matter movement, you say, wow, how far we've come. What amazing strides we've made. And that's true. But that also means 40% don't. That's nearly 100 million white folks in this country that can't even say, I support Black Lives Matter, much less supporting taking a knee during the national anthem to symbolically combat police brutality. Say this. There's at least, in my mind, 15, 16, 17 owners at a minimum that just immediately cross Colin off the list based on that. The second issue is, I think the scars from suing the league are still very raw. Troy Vincent, who was one of Colin's largest and loudest, I should say, advocates during his, the previous 3 years when he's been out of the league, within the league office, Troy Vincent had a very interesting comment just last night to Adam Schefter when he said, I have advocated for Colin publicly, privately, and then he added, even before a judge, which is an allusion to the lawsuit Colin, I think justifiably, but still the lawsuit Colin brought against the league. I think that burnt some further bridges, either with the league office or certainly with some owners. And then the last one is the closest to a football reason we can come to, which is we now have 4, 5, 6 teams maybe left where the owner would sign off on it, where the GM would sign off on it. You need them to also have a coach that is comfortable and confident enough in his position to have that powerful of a voice enter his locker room. That powerful of a voice enter his locker room, not even as what we would assume to be a starting player. So none of these to me are fair reasons why Colin won't play again in the NFL. I think they're all wildly unfair. And I think he'd be great for a locker room. And I think he actually would drive ticket sales and jersey sales up when you look at the totality of it. Certainly some people would walk, but some new people would come to your team. But if I'm giving you my honest answer is I think January 1st, 2017 was the last game Colin Kaepernick will ever play in the NFL, unfortunately, Wildes.
So Nick, I hear you, and in the back half of your answer had a little bit of optimism to it. I'm far more optimistic. And just to address your coach concern, if you're a coach who cannot coach Colin Kaepernick, you don't belong in the NFL. If he is a great guy in the locker room, this was proven with the 49ers. If you can't coach Colin Kaepernick, if you look at the team owner and say, hey, I know you support Colin Kaepernick, but I can't coach him, then that you cannot do your job and you should be out of the league. So that's the first thing. I'm far more optimistic, Nick. I have some football reasons. I have some sea change reasons. One, I think Goodell is encouraging him. He said it himself. So I think we're further along than we ever have been in the last 4 years. Two, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll said a team called him, so we know at least one team is inquiring. Is there more than one team? I would hope so. I doubt that it's just one team, but I don't know that on any authority. Three, there's some actual football reasons. The game day rosters have gone from 46 to 48, so there's literally more spots available on the game day roster with the new CBA. And then the calendar year, Brian, we've got down, I asked our researcher, Dusty, he said the Jets, Steelers, and Giants have 5 QBs right now. And of course, they all won't make the final roster. But if teams have 5 QBs, I feel like there's more of an opportunity for Colin Kaepernick to get in, prove that he belongs in the NFL, which he always has. So I'm a little bit more optimistic than Nick here.
I love everything you laid out. They're big, sweeping changes. But, Nick, you wonder how much of that is predicated on first getting Colin Kaepernick back into the league. Between what Roger Goodell said last night, the nationwide protests, other players in the league voicing their opinions, how much weight does all of that carry? How much of that do owners hear and are hearing to maybe ease a transition for Colin Kaepernick back into this league?
Oh, listen, they obviously hear it, but I don't know that enough of them actually agree with it. And I also think the ones that do agree with it have been convinced, at least some have been convinced, I think erroneously, but have been convinced that Colin is bad for business, in part because they have more of an ear to the people and the communities that are angriest at Colin, rather than the people in the communities who are most thankful and most supportive of Colin, which again would take more of a systemic change within the way kind of the NFL does business in order for those marginalized communities to have their voices heard as much as loudly as the very loud detractors of Colin. But I want to finish with this, because I know for some people, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, for some folks, everything the NFL does and everything Roger Goodell says is going to ring hollow as long as Colin's not in the league. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think it's helpful for those of us who have been trying to push towards change, try to affect some change, if every incremental win is not at least minorly celebrated because the war is still yet to be won. The NFL went from essential total ban on kneeling to J.J. Watt saying he would be kneeling, Baker saying, or J.J. Watt at least implying he might, Baker saying he will be kneeling. You have two very prominent white players. And the league, I saw a half dozen teams yesterday say they're going to take Juneteenth as a team-issued holiday, a day off, something this country should have done for the last 155 years. And there is, to me, something happened in NASCAR last week when NASCAR banned the Confederate flag. And I understand a lot of people's reaction was, what the hell took you so long? And I get that. But the other side of that is, at least it finally happened. And at least we are now, for the majority of people, are recognizing this unalterable truth. Colin was right. Colin's cause was just. It was as big of an issue as he was screaming from the mountaintops that it was, and more people should have listened to him. I believe when Roger Goodell says in that statement, not the one yesterday, but the one a week ago, quote, without black players, there would not be a National Football League. That is a massive, obvious statement of truth, but one that I don't think you could have ever imagined the commissioner uttering even 6 months ago. So the ball is moving, and I think it can be, for people fighting the hardest for it, if you don't take any satisfaction, even in the smallest victories, it's demoralizing. I understand there's a ton of work left to be done, and there are going to be some work that won't get done, like Colin getting back in the league, I don't think will get done. But that doesn't mean that the movement towards progress can't be celebrated to a degree, even if we understand the job is far from finished, Jenna.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.